Welcome into another edition of Pete's Pigskin Preview presented by RiverLand Roofing. I'm Neil McCready in the Clark Ford Studios, joined by my good friend Pete DeWeese, MPW digital football expert, as we take a look back a little bit at Ole Miss's 41-35 win over Arkansas. Gotten a lot of feedback this week from people saying everything Pete talked about with the Arkansas offense is exactly what they saw in the game on Saturday at Vaught-Hemingway. Arkansas, an elite first half of offense. It was a track meet, 31-28 Ole Miss at the half or something like that. It was just an absolute track meet in the first half. Ole Miss holds on and wins 41-35. The Rebels now 3-0, 2-0 in the SEC. They step out of conference this week against unbeaten Tulane. John Summerall and the Green Wave come in. They have wins over Northwestern, South Alabama, and Duke. In case you want to hear it, earlier on Wednesday, John Summerall joined Chase Parham and myself for Hand Raise Guys. We'll put that up at rebels247.com so you can listen to the former Ole Miss assistant, former Kentucky assistant, former Troy head coach, soon to be Power 4 head coach. I don't know how soon, probably very soon. Don't know where, probably somewhere fairly close by. John's terrific, great guy. You'll enjoy that interview as well. We'll look at the Green Wave and the Rebels at 2:30 on Saturday at Vaught-Hemingway, the game on ESPN. We'll talk about RiverLand in a minute, Pete, but how are you?
Doing well. It's our bye week, so a little bit less stressful than a normal week for me, and just trying to enjoy that when I can.
How's your team doing?
We're 4-1. We shot ourselves in the foot about 10 times during one single game. Otherwise, we'd be 5-0. But we're playing good football. We've got some really good, really talented football players, and it's the middle of the season snuck up on us really fast. So now we're getting to the meat of the season. We have a 5-team region. The top 4 will go to the playoffs, and three of those 5 teams are currently ranked in the top 10, including us. So it's going to be a gauntlet down the end, but we're looking forward to it.
It's amazing how fast the months, like a month like September goes, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure for you it's even more this way, but like for me, I get into the routine of, all right, Sunday is this way, Monday is this way, Tuesday is this way, and so the days are so predictable.
Yep.
I know you live in that world too because everything's built around a Friday night. It just flies by. You look up and you're like today, I looked up and it was like, oh, it's Wednesday again.
Yeah, it's really funny, and I don't know if it's like this for you, but it'll be a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I'm like, oh, this has been a long week. And then Sunday happens, and I'm like, where'd the week go? That flew by, and it's a matter. There's some days are very stacked, and you have a lot of things to check off your plate. And then you get through that day, and it's like boom, boom, boom. Friday night happens, Saturday happens, Sunday I'm back in staff meetings, and then hanging out with my family, and all of a sudden it's like, where did it go?
Yeah, on to the next, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, on to the next. That's how that works. And you look up and it's Halloween, and then it's Christmas, basically. Yep. We're brought to you each and every week by our friends at RiverLand Roofing. When it comes to durable, high-performance roofing, RiverLand stands above the rest as a licensed, insured, GAF Master Elite Certified Roof Replacement Contractor with more than 90 years of combined experience. I'm struggling talking tonight. RiverLand specializes in roof repairs, replacements, and maintenance for both residential and commercial properties. RiverLand Roofing combines expert craftsmanship with cutting-edge roofing technology to ensure long-lasting protection for your home or business. Their team of manufacturer-trained specialists deliver top-tier service while staying within your budget. Whether you need a minor roof repair or a complete roof replacement, RiverLand provides customized solutions tailored to your needs. To learn more, call RiverLand 662-644-4297 or visit their website, riverlandroofing.com. All right, Pete, we talked about this a minute ago. You got a lot of feedback at rebels247.com about, hey, everything you told people to expect from a Bobby Petrino offense is exactly what they saw. Anything surprise you from Saturday?
Honestly, not a ton. And that's one of the things that we talked about a few minutes ago off the air is the reality is if I took the time to truly sit down and chart it outside of the red zone, the entire game was probably called within about 10 or 12 concepts on both sides of the field. Both teams that they know who they are, they know what they want to be. And where Ole Miss does a really good job is they carry the same, they've got this big menu, right? It's Cheesecake Factory, it's 4 pages. And the reality is by the time they get to Saturday, it's 1 page. And most of it is the stuff that the people in the kitchen know how to do with ease, right? And it doesn't matter how crowded things get, how stressful it is. They can cook the burger, they can medium rare the steak. But then you've always got your specials, and Ole Miss has always done a phenomenal job with what specials are on the menu that night.
That's a really brilliant analogy.
It really
that's really good, because if you ever go into a restaurant, seriously for a minute, I want to dial in on that a minute. If you ever go into a restaurant and you see 8 pages, the one thing you know right away is that they do a lot of things mediocre. Mm-hmm. If you walk into a restaurant and it's like a single page, 4 or 5 things,
it's about to be phenomenal.
You go, hey, I don't know what you're going to get. Like, I don't know whether you want the roasted chicken or you're going with the steak, but this is going to be really good.
And that's the thing too, right? I mean, you walk into a restaurant like that and you ask your waiter or waitress, what's your favorite thing on the menu? They don't hesitate. You walk into a place with 4 pages, it's like, well, I kind of like this, I kind of like that. And a lot of times to me, that's a sign that it's not great, right? And the reality of offensive football is kind of the same. If you try to do too much in the kitchen, you're not going to get great at anything. And so don't try to be a barbecue restaurant, a seafood joint, and an Italian place all in one, because most of the time that's not going to work out. And so what you saw on Saturday, and in particular, despite the quarterback change and the stylistic changes that did take place in the Ole Miss offense, there was no overhaul, right? They didn't suddenly completely change the menu and toss out what was in the walk-in and start with something fresh. They took things they already did and they made sure it fit the guy that was on the field for them. They didn't completely overhaul the offense. And so you saw 2 different coordinators, and whether you want to think Lane or you want to think Weiss, but you saw the Ole Miss coaching staff as well as Bobby Petrino and the guys in his room. They know what they're doing. They know how to cook, and they know what they do well. And if they don't do something well, it comes off the menu. And they're going to find different ways to present what they do well, and they're going to motion and they're going to shift. But at the end of the day, they're going to play the hits. And so I got some things right on Saturday. And I'll tell myself, I think sometimes that I get it right a lot of times. But I'm also critical of myself because I miss things. Sure. It is what it is. But I do think that what you saw was a guy that Petrino has had so much success for so long without having to recreate who he is from an identity standpoint. And so when you can have that kind of longevity and that kind of success, there's no need to change. So for somebody that has spent a lot of time studying them, it becomes somewhat predictable. Now, the reality is Pete Golding can find it very predictable. And Pete Golding may have a really good feel for what's going to happen. That doesn't mean the 11 players on the field are always going to see it the same way. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to be executed the same way. And it's, no different for the offense. You can do everything you want to do to try to predict the look that you're going to get. And you may have a feel for the tendencies and what you anticipate getting from the opponent. But at the end of the day, when that look changes, or that guy gets there a little faster than you thought he was going to get there in practice, or that 330-pound nose is a little bit more difficult to handle than the kid you worked on scout team all week, the guys on the field still have to execute. And so, I think a lot of what you saw Saturday on both sides of the ball and on both sides of the field really came down to have an understanding of who they are and what they wanted to do. It was just a matter of executing and who could get the other side to falter first. Or falter last.
Yeah, it came down to like we actually started saying that in the press box. It was funny. We said at the 2-minute warning, 2-minute timeout. My apologies. It was like, okay, well, this is weird because if you don't force a turnover here, you got to start thinking about using your timeouts.
Yep.
And saving some time. And if you're Arkansas, I was actually saying, as crazy as this sounds, you don't want to score too fast.
You don't.
Because you don't want to give them too much time because they're not Ole Miss. I mean, Arkansas wasn't stopping Ole Miss.
Well, I mean, go back to was it 2 years ago, the shootout in Oxford,
the 52-51 game.
Yeah, Ole Miss threw a hitch and go.
Yeah,
late in the game, as simple as could be. Day one, basic 1970 football, and Ole Miss does it, and they probably do it more than anybody in college football. And they hit it for a big play that got them down and helped them, seal and win that game. So yeah, absolutely. If you're Arkansas, it is a little bit of a weird spot when it's that kind of a night offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, in all honesty, a little bit of the game that we kind of played on Friday night, and it was a situation where, we knew, we kicked a field goal on the 2-yard line with under 2 minutes to play to make it a 2-score game because we knew it forced them to pass, and that's not where they were most comfortable. Because if we'd have let them line up and run their full offense, it wasn't going to be as good for us. So there's a lot of factors that go into end of game decision, and it's hard to be right sometimes.
All right, Tulane comes to town. We mentioned John Summerall, great guy, great coach, great defensive coach. He's got a game of Trinidad Chambliss on film now, running the Ole Miss offense. That obviously is going to benefit him. On top of that, he's a really sound defensive coach. Lane's talked about that this week. A similar offense, probably. I think you'll know this better than me.
Yeah, in some regard, absolutely. They're far from mirror image stylistically and even schematically. The quarterback being the biggest weapon on the field offensively is the same. Are they going to run the quarterback, and is he going to be a major part of their offense and their production? Absolutely, just like Arkansas. The passing game is different. It is not the same. But I think, a big thing, ironically, unironically, whatever, is calling plays for this Tulane offense is a guy in Joe Craddock that has the background at Arkansas.
Yeah.
And was a play caller at Arkansas, and then was productive with Summerall at Troy, and has been around. And that's one thing for me when I look at this Tulane coaching staff is he's done a phenomenal job of putting a staff together. And that says a lot about him.
It does.
And what people think of him. He's done a phenomenal job, not just bringing guys in, but also building guys and filling it with guys that are good football coaches, good recruiters, and also well-respected. Craddock does a good job with the offense. Will Hall didn't have a great run at Southern Miss, but the guy's won everywhere else he's ever been. He's on that staff now as a passing game coordinator, wide receiver coach. Evan McKissick is the O-line coach, run game coordinator. I've known Evan for several years now. He is as blue collar as they come. He was an undersized offensive lineman that a lot of people would have looked at him and said he has no business when he walked across campus, no business starting at Troy, and he worked his way into a starting role, and he coaches the same way. But he's a guy that was with him at Troy, had been around, had been at Kentucky prior to that, and they crossed paths there and knew a lot of similar people. And so you're talking about a staff, and I know the offensive side better than the defensive side from a staff standpoint, but you're talking about a staff across the board that has some good experience, and they are a very well-coached football team. Absolutely.
The floor is yours, sir.
So I thought first thing we would do is kind of go back and look at, one of the big things from Friday or Saturday rather, and that was how much did the Ole Miss offense change with the change in quarterback. Quarterback run game has been an element of the Ole Miss offense since Lane Kiffin arrived in Oxford. It was good with Matt Corral. It was really good at times with Jackson Dart. We've seen them use it with Austin Simmons early in this season. And then obviously we'd seen it some with Six at quarterback as well. And so now was the first time we really got to see it on full display. And I think the biggest takeaway whether you're just a fan or you're an opposing coach that's preparing for this Ole Miss offense, is the fact that they did not in any way, shape, or form become a one-dimensional offense with him in the game. And it was a question that you asked me last week, about how much time have I watched him and what will they look like. And, one of the things we talked about was the kid threw for almost 3,000 yards last year at Ferris State. And I don't care what level you're playing. I don't care who you are. There has to be not just ability in talent, but processing and all of the different factors that go into being effective. All of that has to exist. Does it mean that he's going to do everything as well as the guy that was the starter? Not necessarily. But I do think that for the most part, he protected the football. He got away with one or two. But for the most part, he protected the football. He did a great job in the run game, but he also really was effective in the throw game as well. And when he gets out of the pocket, he's athletic enough to be electric, but he's also not necessarily looking to run when he gets out of the pocket. He's still eyes downfield and has a live enough arm that he can be effective. So, starting this game, Ole Miss gave you some indication of who they were going to be and what they were going to be. They like starting by putting the strength of the formation into the boundary, the short side of the field. And more often than not, Ole Miss likes to do that for play action purposes early in the game and try to work some kind of easy concept to start the game off. Here, instead of starting like that, they actually decide to start out with a run scheme, and it is a quarterback read run scheme. So what Ole Miss is going to do is they are going to read the defensive end here. Because of his alignment, the tight end is going to arc for this linebacker. You get the tailback to lead for the defensive back here, and now the quarterback is going to read that defensive end. If the end were to come upfield, quarterback is going to pull it and keep it himself. If the end were to squeeze and play down the line of scrimmage, then Ole Miss is going to hand the ball to the receiver and get themselves on the edge. Obviously, it ends up being a pull on the very first snap, and you get a good look of it here from the end zone copy. So Ole Miss starts in an unbalance and they shift. If this defensive end were outside, the tight end is just going to work vertical. Okay. They're going to work a double team to the backside linebacker. The center's going to block back. And they're going to pull this guard for the front side linebacker. Okay. Because that defensive end is inside, you're going to see the tight end. A lot of times you will jab step and then arc release. Some teams just straight arc right now. Okay. But the quarterback's eyes are immediately going to go to number 0, the defensive end. So there it is right there. He's in the mesh. 0's upfield. You need to deny penetration here, and you need so that your guard can get around to 14. The quarterback, because 0 is upfield, is going to pull it, and he's looking to get vertical. Now, one thing that needs to happen is the double team right here between the Ole Miss's right tackle and right guard. You would like to see this tackle stay square to the line of scrimmage so that he can climb and build the wall on number 10. When his shoulders turn to try and impact the double team, it keeps him from being able to redirect and get vertical when number 10 works over the top. So you can see it here as he turns his shoulders there and commits to the 95, the chance of him redirecting and getting to 10 very effectively is not very good. Okay, what you want to do at this point, if you're him and you're kind of beat, is a lot of time people call it a U-turn or a U-out. He's already gotten over the top, so a lot of times what you would teach is to actually take this inside hand and force him wide. As much as you would like to keep the wall built and keep him backside of the run play, because he's already over the top, you want to force him wide. That's kind of what the tackle tries to do here, but the quarterback ends up wide that 10 falls into the play. If Ole Miss gets number 10 blocked and does a better job right there, then this ball hits and creases right there with one guy left to potentially make a tackle, and anybody else is in trail mode. From a design standpoint, from a great way to get a quarterback that's comfortable with the ball in his hands, involved in the offense, maybe get some nerves out of his system early, I thought it was a safe play call. Again, 3 plays later, they're not afraid to throw the ball with him in the game. Okay, so they're going to get right into their a traditional throw game scheme of theirs. So they're going to take the single receiver based on call or coverage. He is going to work vertical or post. They're actually going to take the tight end who is on the top of the screen, and he is going to run a shallow route trying to draw these linebackers down to him. The idea is that you open up the space now for Caden Lee or whoever the slot receiver is coming behind, and then you get a backside curl or dig from the outside receiver. The running back is going to fake a cross. If there's nobody in protection, he's going to get himself out to the flat. So if the quarterback gets a one-on-one and he likes the matchup, he is going to take it. If this safety gets depth and expands this way, he's going to come off of it right now, and he's essentially has a high-low between the shallow and the crossing route. Okay, so as the play develops here, there's his eyes. He knows exactly where his eyes are. He's trying to steer that safety. He's moved the safety. Now he's getting his eyes back across. The linebackers are down on the shallow. If he feels any better in this pocket, he's going to work the ball. He's probably going to throw this receiver a little bit flat and let him try to run away from his defender. Now, to me, and again, this really kind of goes back to our conversation earlier of when the menu's not big, the guys in the kitchen get really good at it, right? Well, base concept here, a wrinkle on Y cross, one of the foundation schemes or concepts in this system, and he understands how fast he needs to get through his progression, but he also understands where his check downs are. And you can see here through the progression, checks, resets, find my check down, get it to an athlete in space, and let him go make you look really good. And so I thought early in this game, great job of him timing-wise. 1, don't like it. 2, not loving it. Get to 3, feel a little pressure, find my check down, give him an easy throw, and let one of the best players on the field go be a great athlete. Like, really, it shows you the maturity and the experience that Chambliss comes into this roster with, and part of probably what made him so attractive. And I think that's one thing I saw Kiffin talk a little bit about in the press conference when it came to recruiting him, was a guy that had played a ton of, he played a ton of ball last year, put up big stats and won. And he wasn't being heavily recruited, right? Those are check marks that and things that check that list that make a guy a no-brainer to go kick the tires on, in my opinion.
Yeah, a young quarterback maybe panics there and forces something and makes a mistake.
And that to me was the biggest part of the play from Chambliss in this game. So come back now. Ole Miss is going to really present a very similar thing. And we talked about, again, you keep the menu small, but this time you give it a little something extra, right? Whether you're throwing some Oscar on top of the steak or you're serving a different side, they're going to basically get to the same idea. Okay, it's going to be vertical or post from the single receiver. Now you get somebody faster in here, and instead of running a traditional shallow, he's going to make it look like it's the same concept that they just ran. And now instead of running the shallow, Caden is actually going to get underneath, and as he clears, he's going to do what a lot of people call sting. He's going to turn that now into a vertical wheel route. So the single receiver to the left has cleared everything out. Caden's going to draw the linebacker. That is going to make the safety pass him off, expecting a linebacker to get him. And now if you protect it, you've created a mismatch. So here, again, there's the mesh. Eyes go to the single. There's the clear out route. Now, great job here. Look at him. He sets deep in his pocket. The pass rushes upfield. He protects the ball. 2 hands. He's going to bring it low to the waist. It's a low carriage, so he can rip and pull the shoulder through and protect the football away from the swat by the defensive end. He steps up immediately. He feels the second pressure, but he knows where this ball is supposed to go. He's got his check down over there, but he sees his matchup is opened up. He doesn't panic. He gets himself under enough control to throw, and he knows he's got enough air to throw a catchable ball and still end up with the completion. Again, calm, cool, collected, great design, because you're just taking advantage of what the coverage wants to be. You can see this safety is going to take Caden Lee man-to-man on anything that does not go underneath the linebackers. As soon as Caden passes underneath, you can actually see that safety point with his right arm and pass him off to the backers, and then his eyes now go to the next guy. With the running back in action this way, and they're playing this man-to-man type coverage, this linebacker probably also is responsible for that running back when he comes across. So if he takes the back, that means you've isolated Caden on this Mike linebacker. If the linebacker were to run with Caden, that means nobody should have your tailback out in the flat. So again, layered, you've got your check downs, you've got your releases, but again, just a really impressive job of navigating the pocket, understanding the concept, and it played out really the way you draw it up when you're sitting in the staff room and you're designing these types of concepts. Again, you just look at him in the pocket. He's cool. He's calm. He's not panicked by the situation. Again, I love the two hands on the football. That's so technically sound. Drop the ball, climb the pocket, don't lose sight of your target. That's phenomenal football. Okay, we can call it bad defense all we want to. It's great design against the perfect call, right? And it's well executed by the quarterback. That great execution by a quarterback is absolutely hard to defend. So I'm going to show this play for a couple of different reasons. Okay, one is because of the execution of the play, but two, watching Lacey on this play when he does not get the football tells me so much about the way this kid plays the game. Okay, so from a concept standpoint first, they're going to take the number 3 receiver here, and they're going to push him on this vertical stem corner route. They're going to take the 2 outside receivers, they're going to push vertical and work underneath. If they get any interior pressure here, and this guy locks on to Caden like he should based on the coverage look they're getting, you've got a big body receiver coming underneath now for an easy completion. If he breaks a tackle, it's an easy first down. If he doesn't break a tackle, you're probably living with 4th and short, okay? The outside guy, if it were to turn into a zone coverage and he were to chase and the corner bailed, you've got an easy throw into the flat on the outside. If they drop out into zone coverage, and it turns into zone and he drops to the flat, if you can't squeeze this window before the backer, you still have a chance here. You also have your backside route, whatever route combination you have in with your backside guy and your tailback. So here you can see there's the man-to-man, right? Caden takes the outside release. He pushes vertical on the corner route. The safety that was man-to-man on right is backed off, allowing the corner to press. The quarterback knows right now. Number 3 bails out, but he bails with his back to the quarterback. He is looking to get deep to the middle of the field because they're thinking it's 3rd and long, 3rd and 10. There's the sticks. He goes looking for something deep over the middle. Instead, Ole Miss is willing to throw it underneath. He's in rhythm right here. It's wide open. There it is. First down, Kiffin knows it. Now, I talked about Lacey. I want you to put your eyes right here, and I want you to learn a lot about this young man because we've already learned he can carry a football. He checks, he releases, he sees the ball completed, and as soon as he realizes right's got a chance to go, he is doing everything in his power to get out there and try to lay a block. That kid got praised in the film room, and when scouts watch his tape, that's going to stand out to them almost as much as some of the runs that he's made. Right. And so I started watching this clip and I'm like, that's great execution by the offense. Defensively, again, it's almost like Ole Miss knew what they were going to be in. They called him in the perfect call. Wasn't great execution by the Arkansas defense. But then all of a sudden I was like, where in the hell did he come from? And I went back and rewound it and watched who it was and just thought it was extremely impressive, the effort that he's giving to try to get out in front and make a difference in the play. And I will always highlight those type of things when I see them.
There's a reason he's getting 90% of the running back snaps.
Absolutely. He's been great in pass pro. He's really effective with the football in his hands in the pass game and the run game. And then obviously plays like that. Just absolutely impressive. Okay, so right here. This is a great design. It's not the first time we've seen it. This was a Jackson Dart play It may have been a Matt Corral play. I honestly don't remember, but I know it was a Jackson Dart play. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and go to the end zone copy right here. Okay. So what Ole Miss is going to do is they're going to run an old school trap scheme. Okay. They are essentially going to double team back to the backside linebacker. They're going to block back and they're going to pull and they're going to kick this defensive end. They're going to send the running back to the flat right now. Both receivers to the right of the offense are just going to go block. Okay. If it's man-to-man, they're going to run them off and just make them chase them into for nobody. The quarterback is reading the play side linebacker. If that linebacker is man-to-man on the running back and expands, Ole Miss now has the math in the run game, and they're going to keep the ball and get downhill. If that running back or that linebacker steps downhill to play the run, now that means that this deep safety is the only guy available for the tailback as long as Ole Miss can sustain blocks on the perimeter. Really clever design, simple design. It's a quarterback, obviously, that you trust in the read game right here. So when this ball snapped, you can see he's going to put his eyes right to 14. 14 expands, but he starts downhill. So because he doesn't fly out immediately, but his initial steps are downhill, they're working a scrape exchange. They know he's an athletic quarterback. What that means is when the right tackle steps down, this defensive end is going to come off his behind, and he becomes the B-gap player. That means 14 is now responsible for the C-gap player. So if Lacey were to run to the left, the defensive end's job would be to tackle Lacey, and 14's job would be to come off the edge now when Chambliss pulled the ball to tackle the tailback. Well, that's a very normal concept. This changeup right here is so simple but so effective because when 50 blocks down, end squeezes, he steps down thinking I got quarterback, but now because of their coverage scheme, there is nobody for the tailback on the perimeter. Great job by the outside receivers recognizing man-to-man. I mean, you can run this back, and I don't know I can't tell who this is right here on the outside. Look at him running with his hand up like he's about to catch a fade. He's 40 yards downfield, and what's the DB doing? His job, playing man-to-man. That keeps him from being a factor in the run game. By the same result, 2 releases upfield as his guy kind of shuts down. He turns into a blocker. So well executed right there. I mean, at this point, you're talking about a 10, 20, tailback's 25 yards downfield, and the corners just now realized it's a run play. So good execution. It's a great call against man-to-man. It's a safe call against zone. They called Arkansas in a man-to-man situation, and Arkansas absolutely paid for it. Okay. Again, talk about, design. I thought Ole Miss did some really good things. I do think this is one of the misses that he had, and I guarantee it's one that he wants back. So Ole Miss gets into this empty set, and what they want to make this look like is that they are going to throw a screen or have quarterback run game in the box. Okay, the reality is what they're trying to do is fake this screen. So what they're doing is they're going to take the outside guy and they're going to try to go run that corner off and out of there. Caden is going to set up, make it look like he's blocking, and then he's going to get down this seam and work to grass. I believe this is Odom is going to come behind like he's the protector, the blocking for the screen, and then he's going to slip late into the wheel route. Typically, you're going to read these things inside to outside. And I don't know if something about the look made him think that the inside receiver was not going to be open, but you can see Caden does a great job of selling this. He's patient, low hands, low hips, not in a hurry. The DB punches, there's the release, and the backside safety so concerned about the quarterback run game, there's nobody there. If he had this back, he would drop this seed in here, and it would be a Caden Lee touchdown. He doesn't like it, and he comes off, and he tries to throw the wheel route. Now, and I'll say this, if you're going to miss, that is the miss. Outside, over the shoulder on an outside ball is where the miss has to be. Odom almost comes down with it, can't quite make it happen, would have been out of bounds anyway. But I guarantee that Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss would have loved to have had this back and him see that the backside safety does not rotate and that Caden Lee is that open down the middle of the field. Because this was probably the worst execution from a defensive standpoint all night long by the Arkansas defense.
Yeah, it's bad.
And Ole Miss didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And then last one from the Ole Miss offense. I know that this is one that Pittman's whining about a little bit. This play's run by everybody. We have it in our system, and it's a really good design, and it's just a wrinkle off of things that a lot of people do. But it is designed to be a man-to-man beater. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the number 3 receiver. You'll see he's on the line of scrimmage. He is going to run a corner route. So if you got man-to-man where the 2 outside guys had tighter coverage and the number 3 guy had a little bit more soft coverage, that probably means that coverage is inside leverage. And as long as the corner and the outside nickel or safety are low, you like your matchup throwing the ball to the back pylon on the corner route to number 3. Okay. As soon as this corner backs up, you lose that, you start to work underneath. Okay, so Pete, what's underneath? You're going to take the outside receiver, and he's going to a lot of times take a split step to his outside foot, and then he is going to run flat down the line of scrimmage. And then as he clears traffic, bend to get vertical. Okay, the number 2 receiver here is taught to run a return route. So where a typical return, you're going to make it look like a 5-yard speed out, stick your foot in the ground, and then come back underneath and inside. So if you draw it all up, what ends up happening right here is you just invert normal spacing for a pretty basic concept, but you've added an element that makes it more difficult for man-to-man. If it ends up being zone, and somebody's playing deep, then you cannot throw the corner. If they play down, you have potential to throw the corner route. If they take the corner route away, this linebacker who would be playing zone coverage is going to end up taking this shallow route, and whoever your flat defender is sees Caden go into the flat, he plays it, and when he comes back underneath, you've created a void now. It's like a basketball play. I mean, it's really just you're creating a triangle where you're clearing space and then giving a guy a backdoor cut essentially to the end zone. Well, against man-to-man right here, what Caden's going to do is shorten this return route, and he's going to run it at the depth of the corner. He's going to aim at his upfield shoulder, and then he's going to show numbers to the quarterback and create the natural rub. So here it is. There's the boom, split release. Caden does a good job. The key is that the outside receiver works flat. This ball is spotted on the 6-yard line. Work flat. When the rub happens, he is barely past the line of scrimmage. You're all off. It's rare you're going to get that called. And you can actually watch, if you watch the bottom of the screen, you see Kiffin running immediately, and he's telling him that that's a screen. That's a screen. That's a screen. That's a screen. He's telling him he's not downfield. It's not OPI. Because Kiffin knows that's the only thing they can call right there. But as long as he's down the line of scrimmage, you're typically going to get away with it. Pretty well executed right there. Great job finishing the route right there. Strong hands. But again, Chambliss, he recognizes, he knows now where this ball is most likely to go. And unless Caden whiffs on the corner or the corner anticipated and jumps the inside right now, that ball's coming to that underneath route. Give him a chance to run with it. Touchdown, great conversion right there. Great red zone concept that has become more and more popular over the years. So, Ole Miss was effective scoring the ball. What about stopping the ball? Because it's going to be a big thing this week as well, okay? And I went back and I spent a lot of time looking at how much schematically did Golding change at halftime from first half to second half. And honestly, I don't think it was much. I think that he reminded them of their role. I think they did a better job of communicating. I kept seeing people on the message board and on social media talking about, we started rushing 3 and spying Perkins. He did that in the first half. Yeah. Not all the time, but he did that in the first half. Yeah, he did it in the second half. Yeah. But he did it all 4 quarters of the football game. It wasn't like a sudden, I'm an idiot. I should have been dropping him into the second, into coverage. So let's do that now. It wasn't like that. It was a matter of Arkansas had a good plan. They found some ways to attack some things, and it was a matter of Ole Miss doing a much, much better job of execution. Sometimes the call you're in is not the good call versus what the offense has done, and we just showed you how that went against Arkansas. And there's times where that goes against Ole Miss, and that's going to happen every game, no matter who you are. So this is an example. Okay, Arkansas gets into an unbalanced set. To the left side of the offense, the outside receiver is eligible. He is on the line of scrimmage. The inside receiver is also on the line of scrimmage, leaving him ineligible. The number 3 receiver is off the ball, so he is now a threat to run a screen, but he is also a threat to go vertical. The tight end is off the ball. He is eligible, which means he can run to the flat, he can run vertical, and he can actually come back out the backside of the formation and be effective there as well. Okay. So what happens here is Arkansas is going to get into a zone read look, and they are going to read the C-gap defender, which right now looks like it's going to be that defensive end or potentially this defensive back. Okay. They're going to take all their offensive linemen and they're going to block to the right. The tight end is going to arc to block this defender. If they were outnumbered, he has the ability to throw a screen out here to his slot receiver. What you'll see as this play unfolds is as they run to the right, the only defender, and I actually lied to you about what scheme we're getting here, they're going to block this end up to him. They're still going to read this guy, and they're going to go block him instead of adding the bubble element. Okay, so what happens is as he commits to being downhill and they go set a screen and basically pick him there, now Ole Miss is down players in the fit. They now do not have anybody to account for the quarterback. So as you look at it from the end zone angle, when they get into this unbalanced, one of two things has to happen. They're either saying that this linebacker is going to fit here as the quarterback player, or they're going to send these two backers that way, and they're accounting on this safety to be down and be this C-gap player. Well, if that safety is going to be the C-gap player, somebody else has to now replace him from the outside, and that does not happen. Okay? Right here, the linebacker looks like he's trying to slow play it right there, kind of sling the fit. They need this defender to be upfield to be the quarterback player. He turns his shoulders. The play fake, the mesh right there by Green does a great job. He sees 14 turn his shoulders, so now he pulls it, and there's just no run support out there. By utilizing that unbalanced formation and then using all of those receivers out there as blockers, it is a very effective way for them. And I said 14. I lied. It was 16. But there's 16. I mean, there he is thinking he just made the tackle on the tailback right there, when the reality is he probably had quarterback responsibility, and his eyes got so focused on the action in the backfield that he attacked, and there was nobody there to replace for him. Okay. Going to this next clip here. This is more of a passing down situation. Okay. Golding decides to get into a pressure look. Now I'm going to run it real quickly. Okay, and show you. Now, it is not an all-out blitz. They're not blitzing 6, and I'll explain what's happening in the blitz here in a second. They are man-to-man to this single receiver, and to this side, they want to play man-to-man, but what they're actually doing is, because of the bunch set, they're playing a technique where they're going to basically sort it out. It's a matchup zone. They're going to take guy routes as they distribute, and they're going to match up man-to-man on them. And there's 3 receivers plus the running back that they have to account for, okay? So here's what's going on from a schematic standpoint. Both of these linebackers are down in A-gap. They're both staring at the center. Here's what's going to happen. They're both going to step at the center. The center has to pick a side. Whichever way he drops, and in this way he drops here, towards 6. 6 is going to engage and then drop out, and he is going to be the spy on the quarterback. When the center steps away, now you become the blitzer. Had the center stepped to his left, he would have dropped out and become the spy. 6 would have become the blitzer. Okay? What you are counting on as the defensive coordinator is getting your outside rushers upfield to be contained. Your pressure's on the inside. You have a spy on the inside. You need to contain the pocket to keep him in these B gaps where your pressure and your spy exist. The blitz is well executed. Watch the linebackers here. The center sets to his right, collision and drop. The other linebacker gets free, does beat the running back. Okay.
Yeah.
As an offense, you have a choice to make on how you're going to protect it. You can't see it. There's two guys lined up over the tackles, and then there's two wide defenders on both sides. You can slide everybody one direction and match your running back up on the defensive end, or you can fan your protection where both guards and both tackles turn out, and now the center takes one guy, the running back takes the other. That's what Arkansas chooses to do. The issue here for Ole Miss is, the blitz is actually effective, and Green knows it, and he gets out of the pocket before the Ole Miss pass rush thinks it's going to happen. But right here, you need this defender to be upfield to set an edge. He gets buried in the tackle. When he gets buried, he loses contain. Now, it does look to me, and you can see it better to the opposite side of the field, like they're actually trying to potentially work a stunt where he is going to try and press and bull rush and squeeze the pocket to force the quarterback out, and now you have a player looping out to surprise him. It's an effective technique. It's one you see run at many levels. But here, Green gets out of the pocket so fast because the interior pressure is so effective that he outruns both the linebacker and the defensive lineman that is trying to loop. Now, are you ever going to want this guy matched up on this guy? No. But if the guy has to sit in the pocket for a minute and you have time for it to develop, it doesn't become a foot race because he has a chance to get upfield and box everything back into his help. This is kind of a fluke where the tailback does an awful job in protection. I mean, Green moves him for a reason. And he gets too wide, does an awful job protection, and Green's instinct takes over, and it kind of screws the pass rush and screws the spy a little bit. So as bad as that looks, it's not a call problem. It's not a scheme problem. It's honestly just shit luck. Yeah. With how it ends up playing out. Going back, is it maybe the call that he truly wants in that situation? Maybe not, but it's one that's been effective for him a lot in the past, even against mobile quarterbacks. And it's certainly one that they're going to continue to carry in their repertoire. Okay. So coming back here, this is one where, this is one of Arkansas's biggest third and really long concepts. It's a concept you see run all over football. It's called the dagger concept. So the inside guy is going to go clear everything out, try to lift everything off. The outside guy is going to run a 15-yard dig as a deep dig. One of these guys on the opposite side is just kind of going to try to go carry that safety out of there. And then here's going to come the shallow underneath to try and hold the linebackers. Here, okay, what happens with Ole Miss is the linebackers get held up by that shallow. Again, they've probably seen and talked and heard shallow all week long, and they're so concerned about this crossing route. They're expecting it to be thrown, but you've got to be more disciplined here. You're looking at a third. There's the down marker.
Is this the play? This is the play that Lane's upset about what it should have been.
100% should have been a false start.
Right.
Absolutely. The left tackle moves early. Should have been a false start.
Right.
Instead, they convert a 3rd and 16, and it turns into a touchdown.
To a touchdown. Yeah, I remember this.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely should have been a penalty, and he's 100% right to be upset with it. Now, the real issue here is and it's a bind. Coverage-wise, this safety is in a bind. The corner sees it. The corner starts to he points. You can see him calling out, here comes the dig. He calls it out, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. But if that safety leaves the dig or leaves the middle of the field to take the dig, the seam is wide open down the middle. That's not the ball they want. They want the dig. These guys have to do a better job. And now, what I can't tell you from a coverage standpoint It's zoned down here to the bottom of the screen. That's clear. They're playing it at the top like it's man, and that happens. That split field coverage is a thing. What I would expect they wanted was when this receiver, the shallow, the safety here that was responsible for anything vertical, they probably want him to play with depth and get eyes. And if he does, it's a kill shot, and it's a chance to maybe disrupt the football. Instead, he chases the shallow, which he has no business doing because that ball is underneath his linebackers. And it's like, this is almost like one of those you can kind of think Arrested Development, the TV show, The Office, one of those where it's kind of narrated right from the outside. Like you can almost hear it there as, that ball goes over his head and he realizes, oh crap, why am I driving this shallow route on 3rd and 16?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it is a coverage bust from the standpoint of they want this guy back here, because if he's there, this scheme looks a lot different. Or if they do want him driving it, but if that's the case, then they need these guys playing with more depth. So I can't tell you where the bust came from, but clearly miscommunication right there. And yes, absolutely should have been a penalty that turned into a big play for Arkansas. Okay. Now, going back to kind of the first clip I showed, right? Option assignment is so important. Who's got the quarterback? Okay. And I'm just going to go straight to the end zone here. The fact that the defensive end is playing an inside technique tells me with pretty much absolute certainty that either the linebacker is responsible for C-gap, which means he'd be responsible for quarterback, or that one of the safeties to the outside is responsible. As the play snaps, there's the end inside. It's an easy read for Green. It looks like Six thinks he's a part of the tailback run fit, but now when the Green pulls the ball, there is nobody there. And if I go back out to the outside, again, the coverage structure that Ole Miss is playing, this match coverage that they're playing, means that when this guy runs a bubble, they expect him to be a part of that fit on the perimeter, which means that now if he does not become the quarterback player, he has to be. That is not a winning scenario for Ole Miss right there, okay? So either bust here or bust here by design. Easy read for the quarterback, turns into a big play right there. Adds on some yards, I believe, for a penalty, okay? Come back again, option assignment football, okay? This one looks similar. Someone is responsible for the quarterback. And here you go to the end zone copy. It 100% looks like it's going to be the linebacker. He is going to be tight off the edge. He is wide. He is chasing down that tailback. That means I have to come at an angle that puts me upfield, that forces the ball back inside, but doesn't run so wide that he's able to just vertically crease and run right past me right now. You can see, though, that's how they fit it. He's downhill, but he fits it so tight. His initial move is inside. If he comes here in his path, Ole Miss has him dead to rights. Because he squeezes so much and his initial steps are so tight, now he's able to get out on the perimeter, and honestly, the safety kind of saves it right there from being a much, much bigger play than it was. Okay. Another look at an option play. Okay. So now, and this is tough scheme-wise, okay, they put the strength of the formation into the boundary. There's two receivers and a tight end to the short side of the field, okay? The middle of the field safety, this weak safety, is deep right here because they don't want to give up a one-on-one is my guess right here. So what Arkansas is going to do is they're going to run the same type of zone read that we've just been looking at, but now the tight end, they're going to read this defensive end, but now the tight end, when he comes around, is going to avoid him, and now if that linebacker is responsible for the quarterback, he's going to block him. Well, from a structure standpoint, that means that this corner or this safety are now your only options for fitting the quarterback run game, okay? So as this develops, there's the defensive end squeezes and takes the running back. That's his job. The linebacker is doing his job. He has stepped out. He is there to take away the quarterback now. But they have a hat for him. They've got somebody to block for him. Well, now there's no secondary support, and you go from a 1st and 10 on the 21 to now being, I believe, a 1st and 10 on the 8-yard line. Okay. Again, we talk about football always being the numbers game. The math changed here. Okay. Daugherty sees it. When the tight end goes back across, somebody has to come fill this void, whether they want him to sling and chase that tight end backside and add safety support on the front side, or if he's supposed to stay front side and they want to add safety support there. Now, when you start talking about secondary support, and I'm getting into real nerd stuff now, okay, everybody's responsibility is going to be, based off the other person's responsibility, right? If they're expecting a safety or a corner to be the support player right here, and based on their action, that does not look like what they're expecting. But if that's the case, then you want him to fit outside so that Green is forced to go back in, okay, to turn it back to his help. If you're getting support from the safety, you want the linebacker inside so that the safety can fit on the outside. When you see 26 fit outside, that tells you that he's anticipating his help to come from the interior. When he takes that on the outside, that is him telling you he thinks all of his help is back in here. If he had taken that thing on the inside and forced the ball out, that means he expects his help to be on the outside. Here, Ole Miss has no help. And part of it is because of the coverage structure that they're choosing to play. And then part of it is probably just player execution as well. So I do think a little bit more of a zone-based focus when you're expecting quarterback run play could be in the cards for Ole Miss this week, because that is one slight shift that I did see in the second half. Okay. They're going to come back here. They're going to go to another read option for the quarterback right here. And the reality of this, okay, this is not shit defense. This is a great call by Bobby Petrino, absolutely expecting what he's going to get from Ole Miss. This is a 3rd and 10. He is 100% expecting Ole Miss to back up and protect the chains right here, and that's exactly what they do. They get into a pass rush look, and Petrino comes out with a base run scheme, and quite frankly, Ole Miss is outnumbered because they're 100% anticipating pass. Probably one of the few calls in the game that I bet Golden would truly like back. So, second half, what changed? Ole Miss played a good bit better in the second half. So we go back to that idea of option responsibility, okay? Watch now. They widen the end a little bit, and instead of being hard down the line of scrimmage, he is going to play a surf technique. So as he gets this zone now, he gets square, and look at him shuffling. He is in position and athletic enough to be able to get upfield. What happens now is because you have that player in that surf position where he can take the quarterback, this linebacker doesn't have to fit as wide now. He can play downhill. So you essentially, with the D-line play here, invite the cutback. There's the cutback, and now you have 2 defenders in the lap, not to mention the defensive tackle winning at the point of attack in the lap of the offense. Petrino would love to have seen him pull this football because there's his escort again, the tight end out in front, but the technique played, the more discipline by the player on the edge. This call, scheme-wise, is absolutely no different than anything they were doing in the first half. The difference is the technique being played by that defensive end. So the question is, did the technique change? Did they just say, hey, here's how we're going to play it? Or did they start playing the technique they'd intended to play from the beginning? And I do think that is the one question I would have if I were going to get a chance to be in that staff room, okay? And again, you go back and we talk surf technique again, okay? Happens to be Perkins again, but throughout the second half, I saw it from multiple defenders, okay? There's the down block. He starts wide. That right now is telling the quarterback it's most likely going to be a give read, okay? There's what happens. Surf, 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 force the cutback, 3 defenders right there to make the play. Just that simple shift in discipline by the outside defender changes everything for the way the defense is allowed to fit the football. I think you're going to have to see a similar style played against Tulane because they like Petrino, they do a great job involving the quarterback in the run game, and they do a great job finding formation to do things in the run game. Okay, so going to show you a couple of clips from their game last week. Kind of a couple things that I'll tell you is, one, they do a great job finding ways to get the quarterback involved, and they do a great job displacing defenders or blocking defenders at the point of attack when the quarterback wants to run it. They are going to be a heavy play action team. They love first down play action to try and get crossers open over the middle of the field. They'll work the outside of the field. He is effective in the throw game, but they are most effective using their run scheme to set up their pass scheme. And okay, so here's a great example early in the game of this Tulane offense. So they're going to start with 3 receivers to the left side, tight end to the right. They're going to motion 1 receiver across, and what they're going to do now is they're going to run this zone read to the left. If the defensive end squeezes, the quarterback is going to pull it, and now by formation and motion, they have 2 guys to now go lead for the quarterback in the run game. That's exactly what happens right here. The defensive end squeezes, the quarterback pulls it. 82, the tight end, helps block the linebacker. The corner is backing up, playing soft. It looks like a route release to him, and now the safety is forced to come fit. He is not number 10 from Arkansas, but he is athletic. He is a big physical runner, and he is athletic enough to make guys miss in the open field. So simple formation, simple motion, simple scheme, great way to attack the safety structure that Duke is playing. Great way to get the quarterback involved in the run game. One of the things I said is they like early down and distance play action passes. A lot of it is meant to mirror and match what they do in the run game. This is an example. So here comes the motion again, 1st and 10. There's the play action. They're going to pull the guard. And now what they're going to do, and they really do a nice job of this, they run this concept a couple different ways. They're going to now get everything going, making it look like it's run to the defense's right, try to get guys sucked over, and now they're going to bring this receiver back, and he's just going to wrap in and try to find space. The motion guy is going to kind of do the same thing and trail behind him. The tailback is going to end up out in the flat if nobody is there. So good play action. There they are, wrap behind them, find the open space in the defense, and convert. I'm not blown away by the prowess of the offensive line, but they are well coached. They are physical.
Yeah.
And they are going to play with the chip on their shoulder. And that's you see it in their play action game, and you see it in their run game as well. Okay. This is a beautiful, beautiful design by the Tulane offense. Genius, simple. And the genius of it is in its simplicity, quite honest. Ball is inside the 20-yard line. Heavy man-to-man from the Duke defense right here. So they are going to get into what will be considered a quads look, and technically most defensive guys would call it a 5-by-0. You have 5 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count the tailback, 5 guys to the left of the offense. Okay? As a man-to-man team right here, what that means is you have 3 eligible receivers out here. This guy is ineligible, but he is in position to block. So you have to match hats out there, or they have the ability to potentially just throw it out there. Well, when they run man-to-man with this 1 safety deep, what that means is this linebacker is now responsible for that tailback man-to-man. So they're just going to run, again, simple zone read option look. If number 7 sits and forces the handoff, Duke is probably okay. When number 7 squeezes and takes the running back because of the man-to-man out there and everybody going to block, but you see locked in, man eyes, man eyes, man eyes. Everybody's playing man-to-man, and because the linebacker is responsible for the tailback in man-to-man, that means you have 0 people there for the quarterback, and it is a very easy walk-in. Again, super simple. All triggered by design, triggered by formation. And from a defensive standpoint, you have to find a way there to make sure you can account for anything on the perimeter, while at the same time you have to make sure you can account for the quarterback in the run game. Kind of moving forward, all right. So this one I thought, again, another interesting concept. Another red zone concept, more man-to-man. Expect pressure right here, okay? Often, teams will run speed option into this type of look, and they're going to run it to the side the running back is lined up on. Quarterback is going to run right at this end man on the line of scrimmage. If he takes me, I pitch it. There's nobody for my tailback because I can block my guy on the perimeter, okay? If that guy runs wide, then the quarterback is going to keep it. Well, here, they actually invert it. They bring the entire offensive line to the right. The running back is going to step up and underneath. Quarterback is going to go this way. If he steps upfield, he's going to shovel the ball underneath to the tailback. If he comes down the line and squeezes when the tackle blocks down, then the quarterback is just going to pull it and go with blockers out in front. This one is a nice little wrinkle. I can't say it's one I've really ever seen in this type of situation before, but well executed. Again, quarterback is athletic enough. You better be right because he's big, physical, and can make you miss. And you best believe when Tulane gets in the red zone, you factor for him as a defense at all cost because he is extremely, extremely effective. Okay, here's another one. Again, top of the red zone, 20-yard line. Pay attention to the quarterback. Okay, what they're going to do here is they're going to give him another read element. This time they're going to lead this running back and this deep set running back to the play side. They're going to bring this tailback across, and they're going to read this defender. If he squeezes, you're going to give it, get on the perimeter with a convoy of blockers. If he's upfield, quarterback is going to keep it and is going to get downhill. Again, same type of schemes Ole Miss saw last week. Phenomenal job by the coaching staff of finding ways to get extra blockers at the point of attack. The defense kind of blitzes himself out of the play, and he cuts it all the way back across the grain. And again, athletic enough to get vertical and make some noise. Okay. They also do some other interesting things with the quarterback. There was one play in this game where they actually had two quarterbacks on the field at the same time. One was lined up at receiver. He came in motion. They kind of faked a little swing or toss to him and then ended up giving a counter to a receiver coming back underneath. Here, they actually start the quarterback one way and they kind of shuffle him out and they fake like they're going to toss it to him. Then they're going to hand off the reverse right here. I can't tell for sure whether or not he has the option to throw this football. It does not look like it. But they are creative on the offensive side of the ball. Again, not effective right here. Duke doesn't give up a touchdown trick play right there, right? But they are creative on the offensive side of the ball, and the Ole Miss defense is going to have to be sound. Now, again, back to their offense, okay? Thought this was a really nice man-to-man design beater by the offensive staff, but the big thing to me is just like we saw last week, you have to make sure to have pass rush awareness. The defensive end gets upfield right here and clearly goes to set the edge to push the quarterback vertical, but something in the interior rush is wrong. Whether the defensive tackle, 99, should have stayed outside, or when he goes inside, he expects 36 to replace him over the top, I do not know. But here, clearly, they open up a pass rush lane, and on 3rd and 10, he's effective in the scramble to get downfield, okay? So what does that look like for Ole Miss on Saturday? I think that you're going to see, again, I don't think there's a ton of change in game plan. I think it goes back to being safe, playing a little bit more zone perhaps behind some of these concepts, trying to get Tulane into some more true passing situations. There's not a receiver on their roster that has put up big numbers. There's two different guys that have had a single game that's been big. Nobody's just been dominant. Tight ends aren't overly involved in the passing game. Running backs aren't overly involved in the passing game. They effectively run the football, and it's not by dominating the line of scrimmage all the time. A lot of times it's just by being sound and creating issues with the fit for the defense. But Ole Miss is definitely going to have to be a run first minded team. And try to slow down the quarterback. And then when they get them into passing situations, they're going to have to do a great job of controlling the pocket and not giving him free opportunities to rush. On the flip side, this is not the same Tulane defense that Ole Miss faced a couple of years ago, right, in New Orleans. The front is not nearly as skilled. They play hard. They're sound, but like you watch this game, and let me kind of turn back to my notes. I mean, I watched almost all of this Duke game, and the score to me was I don't want to say misleading, but it could have been so different. In the second quarter, it's 14-3, and Duke gets behind the secondary and finds space several times in the game.
Yeah,
Duke was effective offensively, right? They get behind the defense. He's a little late on a fade ball, and the kid catches it, but his foot is out of bounds at the 1 foot line. Would have been, if the ball is thrown any better, it's a touchdown, and you're talking about a 14-10 ball game at that point. Instead, it's an incomplete pass. 2 plays later, they go to kick the field goal to try to make it 14-6. It's a bobbled snap, ends up a turnover on downs. Right. Duke had a couple other opportunities in the game. In the third period, it's a 31-16 ball game. And Duke has some opportunities. They blow, they line up to kick a field goal, and it gets blocked. Right. And so just opportunities there that you have to take advantage of to beat a team that's effective running the football and scoring points the way that this Tulane offense has been so far. And despite all of those mistakes, there were opportunities in the end for Duke to make it a tie ball game, right? Despite major blunders earlier in the game. And so I do think that while this John Summerall defense is going to be extremely well coached, I don't know ultimately if the bullets are there.
Yep.
And I do think part of that is because of the effective play of the Ole Miss offensive line. And yes, I do think they have the book on Simmons now to some degree, and they've got the book on Chambliss now to some degree. But you still have to execute. You have to be in the right position. And Chambliss in particular, I think, gives Ole Miss a chance to be very versatile on offense. And if Simmons is mobile and can move, if he'll protect the football, there's going to be space there, I think, for Ole Miss to execute in the passing game, which is going to make their run game that much better. Ultimately, if Ole Miss can protect the football and if they can keep the quarterback from having a huge day, I think twice the quarterback's gone over 100 yards in the run game in their early season games. And then passing game wise, they've only gone over 200 yards once, and that was against this Duke team.
Yeah.
They had like 140 yards, I think, against Northwestern, and 150 maybe in their week 2, I think, South Alabama. And so like not effective, but not huge production out of the offense, truly. Last week, the 4 touchdown performance by the quarterback was really the biggest explosion and honestly the most impressive offensive output I've seen from them at this point. And I do think the Ole Miss defense, while they still have gains to make, is better than the Duke defense.
Yeah, I have a very unsexy analysis of this game. One team has about an $18 million payroll. The other has a $4 million payroll. And as long as the team with the $18 million payroll doesn't shoot itself in the foot, it's going to win.
Going into this, I thought that I would watch the film and really feel like it had a chance to be a close game. The more I watched, the more I started to feel like this is a good football team. It's a well-coached football team. And if Ole Miss does not play well, it absolutely can be a close game. But if Ole Miss and the $18 million roster plays the way they're capable of playing, And defensively, if they can get themselves off the field and not turn the ball over on offense, the horses are there to win out.
I agree completely. Next week, on the other hand, we get a very interesting roster that's a lot more than $4 million from LSU, a team that defensively was terrible the last couple of years and appears to be pretty good this year. Beat up on offense, veteran quarterback playing hurt. I think, and we'll talk about it next week when Ole Miss and LSU get ready for their 2:30 game in Oxford on ABC next week. I think we have a chance for one of those old-fashioned defensive games between Ole Miss and LSU.
Yeah, I'm curious to break that one down and really look at it. I've not looked at them any. I watched some of the Clemson game. I didn't get to watch them last week, but I am looking forward to breaking that one down because there's so many teams in college football right now that I'm really not sure what to make of them.
Yeah, they're one of them.
The teams that I feel the best about right now, quite honestly, are the teams that they're going to be tough, right? Georgia Tech, I'm a Brent Key fan.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech's roster is not an $18 million roster, but they're going to come out swinging every game they play. So I feel good about knowing who they are. Yeah. I can't tell you much about Clemson. And the fact that I can't tell you much about Clemson right now and where they stand, I can't tell you much about LSU. Yeah. How impressive was that win? It's a good win.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's what we thought it was going into the season with the expectations Clemson had on their shoulders.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. LSU gets Southeastern Louisiana on Saturday night in Baton Rouge. They're going to win. They're going to be 4-0. If Ole Miss wins, they'll be 4-0. It'll be a top 10 matchup in Oxford next weekend, and we'll talk about it next week on Pete's Pigskin Preview presented by RiverLand Roofing. Again, our thanks to the people at RiverLand Roofing for sponsoring the show. Again, Ole Miss and Tulane, 2:30 on ESPN from Vaught Hemingway Stadium. We'll have post-game coverage at MPW Digital, also at rebels247.com. So for Pete Deweese, I'm Neil McCready. Until next week, take care.